Oh my God, I see hundreds of eyeballs gazing at me. The spotlight is on me. What if I mess up? I'll end up making a fool of myself. I really don't think I can do this. I just need to get off stage as soon as possible. This is exactly what runs on the minds of most speakers who fear public speaking, or what we popularly call glossophobia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the fear of public speaking is human psychology at play. This is my 20th year of pursuing the art form. I have been a speaker, a storyteller, a show host, a moderator, and a public speaking coach in the last 15 years. And I thought I should use this platform of TEDx to dive deeper into the human psychology of public speaking, the reasons, and how to overcome it. So without much ado, let's get going. So they say the fear of public speaking is greater than the fear of death. Now, do you know why? Let me ask you a question. How many in this room know, raise your hands, when you're going to die? None. Unpredictability is the essence of life. It keeps it exciting. But on the contrary, if you've been asked to deliver a speech, you know it 2 to 3 weeks ahead that you got to be on the stage, there's going to be a spotlight, there's going to be lights on you, and then your brain keeps processing the lines and eyeballs gazing at you, and that in turn leads to two kinds of fears. That is, the first one being the fear of being judged, and the second one is the fear of failure. Now, in order to understand the root cause of these fears, we need to get into two deeper psychological concepts. And they are, number one, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the second one, the imposter syndrome. Now, Abraham Maslow, American psychologist, came up with a beautiful pyramid that captures the purpose of human life, wherein as you keep achieving one level, you keep moving up. And it's divided into 5 levels. The first level of Maslow is physiological needs, the need for food and shelter, a basic need to survive today. The second level is safety and security, home, shelter, employment. Our everyday life needs to be good. The third level is love and belongingness. Now, once the 2 basic levels are met, we want to feel accepted, loved by our peers. Stage 4 comes into self-esteem. This is where, titles play a role. CEO, CXO, director. We love to be respected by others. And finally, we have self-actualization. Now, self-actualization is achieving your true potential. Now, they say 99% of the population in this world is between stage 1 and stage 4 of Maslow. Only 1% reaches self-actualization. And there as well, what happens is, in stage 1 and stage 2, it's about daily survival. Everybody in this room, or those who are going to watch it on TEDx, are going to be between stage 3 and stage 4. And where the core need is belongingness, love, respect. Now just imagine there's a CEO of a company goes on stage and messes up a talk. What happens? He feels like he's falling off Maslow's ladder. He just feels like he's losing everything in life. And the easier thing to do is just avoid stage. So therefore, people avoid stage. In fact, public speaking, the word public speaking, actually in reality, public speaking has nothing to do with public. It is to do with your own internal demons, which questions your own self-worth, which is where we come to a second psychological concept, that is the imposter syndrome. Now, what is imposter syndrome in plain terms? Imposter syndrome is an internal conflict that happens within you, wherein it's a conflict between worldview and your own internal self-worth. Now, to the world, you're respected, accomplished, successful. Say you're an 8 on 10. But deep within, you feel you're a 3 on 10 who just got lucky in life. Now, it's a false belief, but then it's a firmly developed self-belief that's lying within you for years together. And when you come and have to go and deliver a speech on stage, the fear of being exposed just pops up. And therefore, again, people avoid stage. Now, having coached thousands of professionals over the years, I've come up with 3 core reasons that many of you all may relate to the reason for imposter syndrome. The first one is past experience. Now, I had a mentee of mine called Paul. Paul must be in his mid-50s. Paul had huge stage fear and reached out to me about 3 years back. Once I started working with him, I realized the root cause was an incident that happened during his class 2. Now, Paul was a part of a school play, and he was asked to go on stage and deliver just one dialogue, a single dialogue. So he practices it, rehearses, gets on stage, and then the spotlight gets to him. He just freezes, forgets his lines, and after a few moments, rushes off stage. Now, for the next 50 years, Paul never took to stage. He gave up on various opportunities, made excuses to avoid events. In fact, even gave up on a promotion because his role called for him to speak on stage. Finally, when he was left with no choice, he reached out to me. Now, the funny part here is Paul turned out to be a fantastic storyteller with great sense of humor. He actually let one incident in his life rule him for 50 entire years. Now, the reality is there are many Pauls in this world who have let one incident rule their conscience. It could be in your schooling days, your college, or early work life. Never let one incident define you. The second one, upbringing or childhood issues. Now, I had a mentee called Sanjay. Let's call him Sanjay. Sanjay was the CEO of a company who used to develop strong panic attacks and just freeze during important stakeholder meetings. He was an absolutely accomplished professional. The root cause of his fear was a strained relationship with his father. Now, Sanjay's father was an accomplished bureaucrat who was very respected in the society. And as a father, he expected his son to follow his footsteps, which Sanjay didn't. And Sanjay always felt that his father looked down on him. And this led to a low self-worth. So despite all his accomplishments in life, Sanjay just felt like a loser. Now, it actually took psychotherapy coupled with coaching to break the pattern. To everybody here, parents, future parents, the only piece of advice or the best gift you can ever give your child is the freedom to make their choices and to stand by their failures. That's when we are actually bringing up a stronger future generation. The third reason, the small town effect. Now, 80% of India's workforce come from smaller villages and towns who move to cities in search of work. They're extremely talented, hardworking, capable, and they move up the leadership ladder. However, when they're filled with a room of authority, and especially when they come across people who speak polished Renan Martin English, maybe irrelevant stuff, but when they hear people speak polished language, the sudden small town boy or girl in them just pops up. They lose their confidence, they question their self-worth, and they stop sharing their views in team meetings, client calls, presentations, and they feel they're just not worth it. What they fail to do is value in their own life's journey. The first thing that you need to do is to be proud of your journey having moved from a smaller town to being amongst a leadership crowd. Unfortunately, they don't, right? So, we have a lot of reasons beyond on how these fears come in. How do we solve it? Now, anything worth learning needs time, effort, and process. So, I'll leave you guys behind with a 3-step process to work on your fears. Let's get going. The first one is building the speaker mindset. Now, public speaking is a mind game. It's your subconscious at play. You need to get your head in order before you step on stage. So here is my first tip. It's natural to feel nervous. Even the most accomplished speakers have a line of nervousness because we cannot control how it turns out. So if you're not nervous, you're not human. In fact, if you're not nervous, you're overconfident. You're complacent. So just make peace with being nervous. Number 2, prepare to fail. Failure is a part of the process. The day you learn to accept that you're going to fail and learn is the day you're going to proceed. More often, people fail and never get back to stage. Professionals fail and turn up the next day. So, learn to accept failure as a part of the journey. Never compare yourself with others. When you compare yourself with others, you're comparing your weakness with someone else's strength, which is a flaw in itself. The only comparison you need to do is with yourself, who you were yesterday to who you are today, and who you want to become tomorrow. So always compare yourself in your own journey of growth, not with another person. And finally, the mantra of public speaking: speak to express, not to impress. Speak to express your thoughts, your views, your ideas. And when your thoughts, your views, your ideas find an audience, you create a great impression. The byproduct of a good expression is a great impression. It's never the other way around. Yeah. Now, moving on to the second is to build techniques. You need to build techniques around content, and you need to build techniques around delivery. Let's look at content first. How do you build your techniques around content? Tips to organize content. Having a clear speech structure. Anytime that you're working on a speech, always remember you need to have an opening, which shouldn't be more than 15%. The body, which should have core 3 or 4 points, which shouldn't be more than 70%. And the closure should also be 15%. Opening, body, closure. 15, 70, 15 rule. That's a thumb rule for you guys. The next one. Never keep it text heavy. Today we live in a world of Google, AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. There's enough theses available on the net. Nobody wants thesis in a speech. Don't keep it heavy. Incorporate storytelling. Storytelling is something that people remember for years from today. Now, in this talk itself, I've incorporated stories for you to retain my message. So whenever you're preparing a speech, try to see how you can incorporate stories in your talk. The fourth one, share personal stories. This entire talk is my personal experience, and you'll not find it on any AI tool. And that's what makes it unique. Now moving on to tips on body language and voice modulation. It's important to get your body language and your voice modulation in order to drive impact. The first one is with posture. Now, whenever you're standing on stage, if you've noticed me, I stand erect, chest out, legs slightly apart. Look at my legs, it's slightly spread apart. When you do this, you broaden yourself and you come across as someone who is confident. So get your posture in order. The next one, gestures. Anytime that you're on stage, try to use your palm in full. You need to refer here, use your palm in full. You need to refer to this part, use your palm in full. Use both your hands. This makes it magnanimous. Third one, voice. Now, in public speaking, you always pick a higher bass voice than your normal voice, which means if I'm going to speak to you guys in this voice in the last 10, 12 minutes, by now your energies would have drained. So therefore, I always pick one bass higher while speaking because that creates the energy in the room. And finally, bottom line, keep it natural. There's a world that tells you how to have body language and voice modulation. The most powerful speaker is someone who's natural on stage. Just be your authentic self. So this is the second one. And now finally, we move on to the third. And the most important thing you need to do is to get out there and just do it. That is, you cannot play the game sitting in the pavilion. You need to get out on stage and face your audience to face your fears. Now, I'd like to leave you behind with an incident that happened during my trip to Bhutan last year. I visited something called the Funuka Suspension Bridge. It is a pedestrian bridge across a river. Now, in the picture, as you can see that it's about 2 feet wide and it's got railings which are about 5 feet on either side. It's impossible that you'll fall, right? And it's an absolute marvel to walk through and enjoy the breeze. So with great confidence, I stepped on the bridge and I started walking. Now, as I reached the middle of the bridge, the breeze that blew across the river got the bridge to sway. I was rattled. I looked down and it looked absolutely scary. I just wanted to head back, but then I was already halfway through the bridge. Now I had two choices. Either I somehow complete it or I go back. The wisdom in me said, just get done with it. So I pulled myself and I completed the walk. As I reached the other end, I heaved a sigh of relief that I was done. But then I was in for a rude shock. There was no exit from that end. I had to come back all the way to get to my car. Now, left with no choice, I somehow mustered my courage and I slowly started walking. However, something different happened this time. I exactly knew what to expect. I also knew how to manage the sway of the bridge. And I actually completed the entire walk in half the time and double the confidence. Now, this is the picture of me after having completed the walk. And that day, I learned an important lesson in life, that whenever you face your fears, it reduces. And when you keep repeating it, it reduces further and further and further. And therefore, that's the only way out. So to everybody here who are watching it on TEDx, who have the fear of public speaking, I'll leave you with a 3-step process. Number 1, build the speaker mindset. It's a mind game. Number 2, learn the techniques of organizing content and body language voice modulation. And number 3, and most importantly, just get out there and do it. And there will come a time when each of your fears, your inhibitions, your barriers will slowly just vanish and vanish into thin air. Thank you.